Good morning, garden friends. I'm here in the market garden, and actually, it's almost noontime, so it's not quite morning. Um, but today, I thought I'd take you through the market garden and just kind of an unscripted, unedited, unprepared for walk through the market garden in its current state. As I've mentioned before, I let this market garden kind of go this year because I was working on too many other projects and something had to give. And I chose the market garden this year as being the sacrificial garden. And I did have crops in here. I still have crops in here, but they've received almost zero attention from me in the last month or so. No water, no additional water, and we've been very dry. So I thought it would be interesting today to walk through and see the real state of my market garden with no editing, no preparation, no cleanup beforehand. I think it's important to show the reality of farming and gardening as it really is, not the polished YouTube version that you often see on a lot of these gardening channels. I don't have staff, I don't have sponsors. I don't have people helping me do this, other than, well, my husband does help me with a few things like moving dirt and, the big physical stuff where I need an extra set of hands. But as far as gardening and planting and weeding and harvesting and all that stuff, deadheading, you name it, that's me, just me. And the reality is sometimes we just can't keep up. And so I think it's important to show a garden in all its mess. And I think the mess is sometimes beautiful. So I think today I will take you through and show you where we are right now. Again, I didn't go through this garden beforehand and pretty anything up. It is what it is. So let's take a look. As we walk in, you can see the 2 fruit trees that I planted a week or so ago. There's a fruit tree video that explains what I did here, and they're looking good. I'm seeing signs of them settling in and greening up a little bit with much more fertile soil, so that's promising. These are the 2 neighbor rows, and then here are the rows that I put under a tarp early on in the year, probably about June, when I realized a couple of my other neighbors were not going to be able to garden this year. So this section here has been under a tarp for a couple of months, keeping it weed-free. Then we have the pollinator row, which is looking fabulous. I just love this. It turned out so well, despite my neglect. The flowers they just keep coming. And again, I haven't watered this or done much of anything to this. Look at these zinnias. That's just amazing. And then here are the sweet potatoes. I think I've shown you these before. There's 4 different varieties, and they seem to be doing pretty well. They've loved the heat this summer. We've had a very hot summer. And so these will stay here pretty much until frost. Give them as much time as possible to grow and develop tubers. And then before we get our first really hard frost, even if we get like a little nip of frost, I think that's about the time that I will dig these up and put them in the greenhouse to cure. In the back there, about there, is where I dug up the potatoes a little while ago. So I haven't done much with that row, as you can see. I mean, I meant to distribute that compost a little better before winter, and I'll get to that eventually. Here is the chard row, or chard, I guess, planting. I didn't do a full row because it's just us this year. And it's done reasonably well. I am fighting some sort of pest that I've been fighting for the last couple of years. I haven't figured out who is doing this to my leaves. I don't believe it's slugs. I think it's something else. But since I'm not selling these in the farmer's market, I'm not really too worried about it. We just eat around it, cut the top off, and eat the rest of it. But despite no rain and no supplemental watering, we're still generating some beautiful leaves. I love this yellow one. So I'll cut some of those later, bring those in the house. these will go right through to frost. Next to the chard, I had planted carrots in this section, and I've already harvested these. I harvested these about a month ago, and I only planted one planting of carrots. I had seeds for 3 plantings, 3 different types of carrots. Yeah, I got to 1. So I have carrots in my refrigerator. I'm happy with that. That's what I'm going to have to settle for this year. And then this row, I just harvested the onions. There's a video for that as well. So that row is completely empty. And then these 2 rows were meant to be greens. As you can see, not much green. Way down at the very end is the last planting of Salanova lettuce that I did that has gone to seed. It's bolted, and I'm just leaving it in there. I will pull that out before it actually goes to seed and put it on the compost pile. So this next row, this fencing here, if you remember in an earlier video, I had sugar snap peas and snow peas on this fencing, and then I interplanted my cucumbers and tomatoes. Thought I'd try something different and see if after the peas died off, which they usually are pulled out by the end of June, early July, the cucumbers and tomatoes would just take over. And it didn't quite work out that way, as you can see. The peas grew up pretty tall and shaded out the cucumbers and tomatoes, so it kind of slowed their growth a little bit. Obviously, I've since cleared out the peas, and the cucumbers, as you can see, are not looking all that great. I planted a bunch of pickling cucumbers, and I'll put the name below. It was a new variety that I tried this year. I didn't like them at all. The cucumbers were spiny, and just, I don't know, they didn't do well at all. I normally grow national pickling cucumbers, and I thought I'd try something new, and as you can see, they struggled, and yeah, I ended up pulling most of them out anyway. The Marketmore cucumbers hung in there, as you can see. Look at the size of this. This is a chicken cucumber. I could probably, this one might be edible, but I'll cut this one off for the chickens. Marketmore always does pretty well for me, but again, I neglected these poor things, and the fact that they're even producing cucumbers at this point is pretty amazing. So I think these are going to just get yanked out at this point. And then down here, oh, we have one more Marketmore. That's a big cuke too. I did plant a few token tomato plants. And again, I'll put the names down below. This one I believe is Blue Beach. It's a paste tomato, an organic paste tomato, and it is producing. And these are pretty nice looking tomatoes. And tomatoes actually can be grown in dry conditions as long as it's consistently dry, as opposed to floods of water and then dry, floods of water and then dry, which will cause the fruit to split. So it's actually not surprising that there are some really pretty fruits here. Ooh, this is like super ripe. Look at that. That is huge. That is one plum tomato. Holy cow. All right. And then down here, I had a couple of just slicing varieties, and off the top of my head, I don't remember, so I'll put them on the screen. But here you can see, oops, this one's kind of deformed. But there are some, you know, decent sized ones. Woo. You see there's a few on the ground that have fallen off because they're just so ripe, so like squishy ripe. These might be chicken tomatoes. Now, I'm probably going to offend a lot of people, but I don't like tomatoes. I don't. I grow them just because I think people expect that we should grow them. And I used to sell them, but I really don't like them. So I probably will not grow them after this year I had seeds left over, so I threw them in the ground, in the pots, and started them this year. So with really no attention, these tomatoes have actually not done too badly. There is actually fruit on them, ripening, and they don't seem to be consumed with blight, which is surprising. All right, we'll walk up to the next row. You can see through the fencing. That is my one planting of bush beans, green beans. You can see it's probably like 20 feet of green beans. I was pretty faithful at picking green beans for a long time and then just gave up. And as you can see, yeah, these are no longer edible. But I've left the plants here, even though they are just producing bean seed right now, mainly to keep the soil covered. And you can see the drought is really starting to affect these too. We are so dry. It's crunchy. Now this is a variety called Jade, and it's one of my favorite bean varieties to grow. It does consistently well here, and oops, sorry about the camera angle. And consistently produces good beans. These actually might be edible. Maybe I'll pick a few today. Consistently straight and slender beans. So I always grow Jade. I did have another packet of seeds of a French fillet bean, fillet bean, but never got those planted. And part of the reason I wanted to do this video is I was pulling something out of, what was I doing? I was pulling the onions out of the garden, and I happened to be looking over and I saw this pepper row. And I said, oh boy, there might be some things going on here in this pepper row. And once I walked by the row, and oh my gosh, you would not believe the amount of peppers I have on these plants, with literally with no attention or watering or anything. They are like loaded with peppers. So I'm going to go through and cut some of these. Actually, cut all of them, because the green ones will not ripen if I leave the red ones on. But look at these. Aren't these insane? Now, I grew two varieties of red bell peppers, Yankee Bell and King of the North. And I put them both in. And honestly, I can't remember which is which. I think these are Yankee Bell. And then these here, which are definitely greener and blockier, might be King of the North. But look at all these peppers. Oh my gosh. Insane. And then further down, I planted some Carmen sweet peppers. And again, the same thing. So many peppers. Further down the row, I planted some chili peppers. These were lemon chilies. And the seeds were given to me by a friend. And I'm finally getting some chilies. I don't know if these will ripen before frost. Maybe. They're definitely not ripe yet. I believe they turn bright yellow. So we'll have to keep an eye on these. And again, I've done nothing. Oh, wait. Let's go over here. Whoop, there's a yellow one. Whoop. There we go. Yellow one. That's what they're supposed to look like when they're ripe. Yay. So I'm going to pause for a little bit and grab my clippers, and I brought my little red wheelbarrow in. I'm going to harvest these peppers before the day gets too far gone. And yeah, and then we'll get back to the garden tour. So hang on a minute. Well, that went better than expected. Look at this. These are all the red bell peppers, and then along the back here are all of the Carmen peppers. It's just a ridiculous amount. I've almost filled up my little red wheelbarrow. I went through also and just picked all of the slicing tomatoes and paste tomatoes, as well as the cucumbers, including the ones that are chicken worthy. And I'm just stunned at the amount of stuff I just pulled out of here in a garden that I literally have not been in like 2 weeks, at least on this side. Haven't even looked at it. And oh my gosh, look at all that bounty. This just goes to show you how much food you can grow in a small space, even with a little effort. It's amazing. I love it. I'm going to bring this wheelbarrow full of produce up to the carport to put it in the shade. But I thought I would just divert a little bit and take some of these to the chickens. We just moved this morning. So the girls are all underneath the chicken coop right now because it's the sunny part of the day. As soon as they see me coming with a bucket, though, here they come. Hello, girls. They're out here in the old crabapple orchard, which is in the process of dropping tons of crab apples on the ground. The deer come and clean these up. Obviously not inside the chicken fence, but the chickens don't really pay too much attention. Oh, big bird of prey just flew over and scared the chickens. Oh, girls. All right, so I'm going to go in and give them a cucumber. Oh, there we go. A cucumber and tomato treat. This is always fun. All right, girls. They love tomatoes. Love tomatoes. All right, let's see who gets this lucky. Who gets this lucky tomato? And cucumbers are also a big hit. Look at the size of this thing. All right, let's see if I can throw this without hitting a chicken. Woo, there we go. And they'll pick apart cucumbers as well. Oh, sorry. Those were just too big. And then these are kind of wrinkly and damaged, so we'll throw those in there too. There. Make the girls happy. I'm back in the market garden, and I just finished harvesting all of the red peppers from this row. And these are the chili peppers again. I'll leave those to ripen. So now let's get into the not so pretty parts of the garden. As you can see, there are quite a bit of weeds here that I need to tackle before they go to seed. And some of them have already started, so that'll be today's project, getting rid of these weeds. The next row, I planted Brussels sprouts. Now, I've had a love-hate relationship with growing Brussels sprouts. Some years I do fine, and other years, like this one, not so much. The plants are up. They're not very big. Actually, this one here at the end, these two on the end here are looking pretty good. As you can see, the cabbage moths are busy laying their eggs on leaves. Anyway, so I'm not sure that I'm going to get anything. Maybe this one here, these two. But again, I haven't watered. Excuse me. I haven't watered at all. So, yeah, poor things. And the aisleway here is just loaded with weeds. And again, I got to get in here. This is going to seed. I don't know what this is, but it's everywhere. And it goes to seed quickly. Above the Brussels sprouts are all the different broccolis and cauliflowers that I grew. And we actually did get quite a bit out of these plants early on. And that was their saving grace, is that they produced early on, before I kind of gave up on everybody. So these are just, they're going to flower, although there are a few little bits here, like I can snap this off. We can eat that. That's lovely. This is a sprouting broccoli, so it puts out these little sprouts. This is too far gone here. And if you keep cutting them, they keep producing them. And obviously I gave up on cutting them, so now they're going to flower, which the bees love. And of course, once they go to flower and the bees find them, I just can't pull them out. Oh, here's another one. Another one. So yeah, these are sad. But they are providing some food for the bees, so I'm happy about that. These here were, I believe these were like head broccoli, big heads of broccoli. So cut those off and just left the plants in the ground, which I tend to do, just to try to keep the ground covered until I pick another crop to, put in here. But obviously I didn't this year. So this whole row is broccoli and cauliflower that have been picked. And again, as you can see in the aisleways, full of weeds. Totally full of weeds. That'll be my afternoon project. It's getting all these weeds out, especially these tall ones here in the distance that have puffy seed heads. Yep. All right, so broccoli and cauliflower. These were some kohlrabi that got left in the garden. Yeah, they look like boulders. Those will end up in the compost bin. Kale. Oh, kale. These were a later planting of curly kale that I put in the ground and then promptly did not water. So the poor things have suffered. Here are the curly kale that I planted earlier in the year, and these aren't looking too bad, actually. I can definitely harvest some of this. The cabbage moths haven't done too much damage to these, so that's good. And then Dino kale, again, first planting that I did early in the year, and still have some decent leaves on here. Again, the cabbage moths have been at these, but there's still some edible leaves. I haven't sprayed for cabbage moths this year either. I usually spray with BT to get rid of the caterpillars that destroy the leaves, and I didn't do any of that this year. So they're actually looking remarkably well, given I didn't do that. The cabbage moths seem to go after the Dino kale first, like this. This is what happens. Before the curly kale, and I don't know why. Maybe the blue color. Again, more weeds. Yeah, so here's some more of the sprouting broccolis that have gone to flower, and actually these are about to set seed. But broccoli seed pods look like. And then, ooh, yeah, see, I missed some broccoli down here. We'll get to these yellow flowers in a second. This is the perennial storage row. So yeah, I missed that head of broccoli, so that's too far gone. That'll be chicken broccoli. This will all be chicken broccoli. And yeah, more broccoli. Ah, so much food. And then we get into the cabbages. I did harvest a few cabbages, and then I put in some new starts, and again, didn't water. So here we are. More weeds. Here's some down here. These actually are looking a little better. Oh, look. Oh, yay. Small little head here. That's edible. So's that one. Yay. Okay, two more cabbages, maybe 3 if that survives the cabbage moth onslaught. Okay, so now we're into the perennial rows, perennial garden vegetable rows, and then my perennial holding row. I'm struggling. I think I think I intentionally planted this. It looks like a oh, not verbascum. Shoot, y'all know what I mean, but I'll put the name down below on the screen when I come up with it. Anyway, I think I intentionally planted this, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway, big pile of heleniums that I grew from seed. And clearly the bees are very, very happy. These are supposed to go into the pollinator border behind the house, and obviously didn't make it there this year, and probably won't make it until spring, because I'm not going to try to move these now when they're in full flower and the bees are all over them. But as you can see, still have plenty of perennials that survived even without any watering. Can't get over the number of bees in that helenium. Yeah. So these are the peonies, the white Becker's peonies that I've named. I've named them Becker's peonies. I think I've told you that story before. We took them from a farm named Becker's Farm when it was about to be demolished. These bloomed this year, and they're getting ready to die back. I will be moving these shortly up into the barn slope garden, where they will find a permanent home. Fall is the time to move peonies, so I need to do this now. Some struggling bee balm, some more Heliopsis, some Shasta daisies that all bloomed. The base is looking pretty healthy, so I'll cut these back, and I may transplant these this year. We'll see. So yeah, the whole row. I'm not going to weed my way through the helenium up there and the bees, but just various perennials that were meant to go into the pollinator border this year and didn't quite make it. So let's walk over a row, and as you can see, it is a sea of weeds. It's all weeds. Yep. And comfrey. Holy comfrey. Look at this comfrey. Yeah, I've cut it back twice. As you can see, I laid the old stuff in the aisle here. But yeah, this comfrey is just insane. So I'll be giving some of that away. And then step over a row here. We have our asparagus row, which survived the onslaught of asparagus beetle and seems to be doing okay. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let me just rotate the camera here. This is my horseradish patch that I moved out of a patch that I had outside the garden. Now I have to dig up the rest of that big patch outside the garden and give that away. This will stay here forever. If you know anything about horseradish, it will spread and you will never get rid of it. So that's why I put it in this back corner of the garden. I don't care if it spreads here. All right, let's walk up. Look at that, the comfrey. I'm just stunned by how green and lush that looks with no supplemental water. That just shows you how deep their tap roots go. Deep, deep into the soil. So that's tapping on moisture way down. This is the lovage or lavage. Look at how tall that is. That's got to be like 8-9 feet tall. It's supposed to be perennial, so I've never grown it before. It's never done this before. So I think the base will come back, and this is the seed setting. It's lovely though. Go back to the asparagus. Some of the rhubarb is still hanging on. It is supposed to be going dormant, and it will shortly. It's not edible at this point, but actually I'm really encouraged by the health of these asparagus fronds with no supplemental water. Actually, this one looks a little bit chewed on. You can see the top here looking a little bit bare. That's asparagus beetle damage. But overall, not too bad. So this fall, once the weather starts cooling down a bit, we'll haul in some cow manure, composted cow manure, and heavily top dress this row. And next year, we should be able to take some asparagus. So very excited about that. Back around to the rhubarb. Ooh, and you can see, so these are some native asters that I dug a chunk out of the pollinator border. Oh, actually, no, this was in the kitchen view garden that I had taken from the pollinator border and stuffed in here. See, the base is way back here. And as you can see, they grew like crazy and flopped over. I love these. These are neon pink when they open. And I'll show you those in the pollinator border when they open. I'm happy to see this. I'm happy that this survived because I love this plant and I want more of it. So next year I will definitely be bringing this into the pollinator border. Goldenrod and yarrow. There was more yarrow in the back, a different variety that I can't remember. This one, I believe, is called paprika. And all the heads are gone by, but the bases still look really healthy. So I'm excited about that. Oh, that's actually, this is Coronation Gold that bloomed earlier and just put on a second bloom. And paprika's in the back here. There we go. All right. Well, that's the good, the bad, and the ugly from the market garden. Not all bad or ugly. Some of it was good, including these 2 little broccoli pieces that I'm hanging on to. Might have these for lunch. Lots of peppers, a surprising amount of tomatoes and cucumbers, despite the abject neglect that I've subjected this garden to this year. Yeah, next year will be better. I keep telling myself that. Next year will be better. I hope you've learned something in this video that, you know, gardens aren't all pretty perfect all the time. They're a lot of work and they get messy and weedy and stuff doesn't grow and stuff gets scorched and bug eaten and forgotten. And yeah, but we muddle through and we try again the next year. And there's always that eternal hope that, you know, it will be better next time. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate that you're here. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.